I've found that most car rental complaints in Ireland actually stem from the customer not knowing exactly what's expected or what's necessary when they rent a car. So today, we're going through 8 simple steps for stress-free car rental in Ireland. Hi, thanks so much for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Now, if you listened to the last podcast episode, we talked about transportation in Ireland. And I told you that today we were going to talk about car rental in Ireland specifically, because that is the method that most people use when they plan their visit to Ireland. Now, for those of you who are new to the podcast, I want to let you know that this is part of my Planning Your Ireland Vacation podcast series that started back in episode 124. So if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, you might want to go back and start at the beginning. So car rental, it's one of those things that it kind of hurts me when people don't know all the differences, I guess, in renting a car in Ireland as opposed to so many other places. There are just a few extra steps that can really make a difference between being prepared and feeling like you landed in Ireland and got fleeced. So thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate that you're taking the time to plan your Ireland vacation and make sure that it is exactly the way you want it. As always with my podcast, the show notes have so much information, so many links, and so much more than I can actually share in the podcast without making it hours and hours long. So as always, go ahead, click the show notes for this episode and dive right in. So what we're going to start with is a few steps on how to save money on car rental in Ireland. It is expensive. 2022 was crazy expensive due to car rental shortages, or rental car shortages, I should say. And 2023 is shaping up to still be more expensive than it has in the past. So here are a few steps before we get into the 8 steps to rent a car on how to save money in Ireland. The first thing I want to say is do not scrimp on insurance. The Superior CDW, CDW Excess, however the car rental company calls it, that insurance with a 0 deductible is often the best money that you're going to spend in Ireland. If you're considering using credit card coverage, I have more information on that in the show notes. I've done both, and I'm going to tell you that 0 deductible insurance, it really does bring peace of mind. It's a few $100s extra. I know it's an extra cost, but for the peace of mind it brings, I think it's worth every penny. But again, totally up to you. Lots of information in the show notes. So a few ways to save money on your rental car. If you know how to drive a manual transmission, rent a manual transmission car. Most car rentals in Ireland are a manual transmission. Automatic transmission will cost you more. Rent the smallest vehicle you can be comfortable in, but don't forget about luggage. We've rented cars that seem like they would be a good fit, but then we can't get the luggage in the boot and we have to upgrade at the counter. Always a gutting experience. Only rent the car for the days you need it. Remember, you do not need or want a car in Dublin City. So just don't rent it for those days. Pick it up as you leave. Pick it up or, drop it off as you arrive in the city. Wherever Dublin lands in your itinerary, you don't need a car there. And it costs an absolute fortune to park in Dublin. And a lot of hotels don't even have parking. So check all those things. Return your car to the same location that you rented it from. One-way rentals always cost more. Doesn't matter where you rent them. One-way rentals always cost more. And then Irish Car Rentals offers my listeners a special promotion of 10% off your car rental. So be sure to check irishcarrentals.com and do some comparison shopping. All right, now the 8 simple steps to renting a car in Ireland. So your basic steps, obviously, know your arrival and departure dates and locations. I talked about this just a minute ago. You do not need a car in Dublin. That will shave off, a day or two of your car rental. Also, knowing those departure dates, are you going to spend a couple days in Dublin before? Are you going to spend a couple days in Dublin after? Just knowing that information is the first place to start. Step number 2 really rolls into that. Do you need a car for your entire trip? No, you don't need a car in Dublin. If you're not going to rent the car at Dublin Airport or in Dublin City Center, you might be able to get away with another day or two shaved off because you're taking the train somewhere. So kind of have a good idea of your itinerary and know the dates that you actually need that rental car. Step 3, research rental car companies. I use a couple of different things. Number 1, like I said, Irish Car Rentals. They offer 10% discount to my listeners with the code IFV. So definitely check Irish Car Rentals when you are doing your research. Another tool I use is Auto Europe. Auto Europe is an aggregator that brings in all the Irish car rental companies, and you put in all of the information about the car you want, the dates and everything, and your pickup and drop off locations. And then it gives you all the prices. You can then compare really apples to apples on the car rentals, cost, type, all of those things. So research those rental companies very carefully. Also, if you belong to or you have points with a company like Hertz, Alamo, Enterprise, all of those companies do operate in Ireland. So check those, see what your discount offers, and write everything down. You really compare things apples to apples, which I guess I'm getting ahead of myself because that's going to be step 5. So you're researching your car rental companies. You know what's available in Ireland from the place that you want to pick up the car and the place you want to drop it off. Step number 4, choose your car. Like I said a little bit earlier, you want to choose a car that is the smallest that you can comfortably use. Keep in mind the comfort level and the number of people you're traveling with. Do you have car seats? Are you traveling with kids that need car seats? You're not probably going to want a teeny tiny little car. You're not going to want to squish the kids in there. You're not going to want he's kicking me, she's touching me. Really think of what you need to be comfortable in comparison to how much driving you're doing. Think about, how, if you're doing like long drives, do you want to be in a cramped car shoved full of luggage for 5 hours a day? The answer is probably no. So really think about what you are comfortable in with the car and thinking about, like I said, that luggage. Then you want to get your quotes, comparing apples to apples. Now, this is where the real work comes in, because you have to do a little bit of digging to really know what you're getting with some of the car rental companies. Do you have to go through a few steps to add on the insurance? Do you have to check or uncheck boxes to make sure that you're looking at everything the same? You need to make note of the coverage that's included, the coverage that's not included, and make sure again that things are just as similar when you do your comparisons as they can possibly be. If you're comparing one car rental company where you can purchase your excess insurance, in advance online, and another car company where you can't add that insurance online, your totals are going to have a few $100s of difference. So make sure that everything is as close to the same as possible when you are comparing your quotes. Number 6, check and double check those insurance options. Now, this is where people really run into problems when they are doing their Ireland car rental. Because if you don't get that excess insurance and you don't have proof of insurance through your credit card company when you land in Ireland, you're going to feel like you landed and got robbed, because they're going to say, no, you have to have this before we let you take the car. So, number 1, why is extra insurance required in Ireland? It's because a lot of the roads are narrow. So the thing you need to know about a dual carriageway in Ireland is that it is literally a dual carriageway. When the roads in Ireland were kind of laid out, platted, whatever you want to call it, they were made to fit two carriages side by side. So we're talking horse-drawn carriages. So when the roads seem too narrow for a vehicle, it's because they are. Carriages were not as wide as a car. They are literally a dual carriageway. So nearly 90% of rental cars in Ireland return with some sort of damage. Now that damage may not be big. It may be a scrape. It may be a knocked off mirror, but it's some sort of damage. And if you don't have that insurance, that damage has to be paid for somehow, whether it's by a hold on your credit card or it's by your credit card insurance covering it. It is somehow paid. So that's why there's extra insurance in Ireland. Now, the thing you're going to notice is that all car rentals in Ireland come with CDW, or collision damage waiver. That is the minimum amount of insurance required in Ireland to have a car on the road. So that doesn't cover anything that you do to it. That is just the liability coverage. It's a legal requirement, the limited liability. So it assists if you damage something, but it doesn't pay for any damages to the rental car in an accident if you are at fault. So whether it's listed as Super CDW, SCDW, CDI excess, the extra insurance is what covers the damage to the car when you drive it. Clear as mud, right? Okay. So what you need to know is that you're going to somehow have to provide insurance. You will purchase the excess CDW. You will have a credit card that covers insurance in Ireland, or you will have a massive hold, 5,000, 7,000 euros on the credit card that you used to reserve the car to cover any damages that happen to that car. So loads of advice, loads of information on that in the show notes. I highly recommend that if you read nothing else, you click over, read step 6 about insurance. It covers what you need to know about travel insurance policies that cover car rental. It covers what you need to know about credit card insurance coverage in Ireland, what you need to have as proof for that. Always, always, always read the fine print. You know, you need to know exactly what's going on with auto insurance in Ireland. All right, on to step 7. Make your car rental reservation. You've done all the hard work. You found the best car, the best price, the best options for your trip. Couple of things to remember before you click the book button. The car must be reserved in the name of the main driver, and the credit card used must also be in the name of that driver. So I can't reserve a car in my husband's name with my credit card. It will not be accepted. They may not cancel it outright, but you might arrive in Ireland and find out that that's just not going to work, and they cancel it right in front of you. So make sure that the name of the driver, the name on the credit card match. You also need to have a current driver's license to rent a car. Like I said before, international driver's licenses are not necessary, but your driver's license must be valid. Do not arrive in Ireland with an expired license or a license that is going to expire while you're there. You will not be allowed to rent the car. Also, when you're renting the car, put your flight information on the reservation in case of flight delays. They keep track of when flights are coming in, and if you aren't there to pick up your car within a decent amount of time, usually they give you a 2-hour window. But if you're not there to pick up your car after your flight arrives, they will cancel your reservation and let somebody else take that car. So make sure your flight information's on there, because if your flight has a delay and you're late picking up your car, it will still be there. I always call the rental car company or send an email just as backup for that, just kind of as a tip. All right, and finally, number 8, tips on picking up, driving, returning your rental car in Ireland. If you have a 0 deductible insurance policy that you have purchased, like I said, it lifts all the weights off your shoulders. You can return that car with it dented, damaged, crushed, no questions asked. So you've got that insurance. It really is the easiest way to rent a car. Now, if you aren't purchasing that insurance, I highly recommend taking pictures of every angle of the car, interior and exterior, when you pick it up and when you drop it off. If you can have those images time-stamped, even better, just in case there are any charges or discrepancies on the drop-off of that car rental. I usually, especially if I'm in Dublin, now I don't do this when I fly out of Shannon, but if I'm flying out of Dublin, I usually purchase the refueling option. The prices are, I think they're pretty fair. It gets rid of the hassle for me of trying to find a Dublin airport fueling station. A lot of the times the prices there are higher, and car, auto fuel is already stupidly expensive in Ireland. So I like it. I return the car on E and I walk away. As I talked about in the last podcast episode, the M50 toll road around Dublin is barrier free. That toll is usually not rolled into your car rental, but ask about it. A couple of car rental companies will pay that toll and just add it to your bill. Most require you to pay that toll yourself. So know about that. There are other toll roads in the Republic of Ireland. Usually you can just pay as you go through. They have a credit card tap, super, super easy, or you can pay with cash. Some rental cars companies will have like a toll thingy in the car. So just confirm, ask if you need to pay tolls or if they'll be added to your bill. Now, if the car interior is excessively dirty when you return it, so we're talking sand, trash, any of that, you are probably going to be charged a cleaning fee. So if you don't want that cleaning fee, clean out the interior of the car before you drop it off. And again, as I mentioned, if you don't have that 0 deductible insurance, take pictures when you drop it off. A lot of the times the agents do not do a final walk around with you there. They're just too busy. So those pictures are your insurance against being charged for any damage that you did not create. All right. As I mentioned before, there are loads and loads and loads of information in the show notes. Go ahead, click through, read this article, read it again, study Step 6 one more time, and you are going to be you're going to be so far ahead of most tourists in Ireland who are renting a car. You're going to know everything you need to know, and it will help you have a terrific trip. Okay, so those tips may not have sounded stress-free at the beginning, but trust me, when you arrive in Ireland and you're picking up your car, it'll be stress-free then. I promise. Now, if you enjoyed this podcast, I would be so thankful if you would leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, if you could go over to the Ireland Family Vacations Facebook page and leave a review there, I would be really grateful. Or if you're on your mobile device, just snap a screenshot, go to your own Instagram account, and in your stories, go ahead, drop that screenshot, leave a few kind words, and tag me at Ireland Family Vacations. If you have questions or comments, you can always email me, Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Slán go fóill.